All right, hopefully the recording is actually working. It may have gotten me in mid-sentence, but that's okay. There we go. Okay, it is officially working. Fantastic. So, apologize for that weird pause. If there was a pause there, my recording was, not recording, I think. But anyway, if you're viewing this, good afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this, you should be, if you're seeing this, one of my in-person Spring 2023 history classes this semester. Like I mentioned in my announcement email I sent out last Friday, I just wanted to make a video to sort of briefly go over again the procedures for how the debate is going to go that I mentioned sort of at the beginning of the semester, just to make sure you can refresh your memory whenever you might need to, especially if I don't have a chance to really bring it up in our only class we're going to have this week before the debate. So, also, by the way, as you can see here, I'm looking at the Moodle page of one of my American History 2 classes. My other American History 2 class, you got, obviously your class looks exactly the same. American History 1 students, this should also be set up the exact same way. It just has different content for American History 1. So yeah, this should be helpful to basically everybody. So, first off, when you go through our the weekly section of our Moodle page, which you should do every week, obviously, you'll see here we have some readings, some work of the work schedule, which again, I always recommend you review. And more importantly, in here we have the directions for the debate. So, this is, again, we'll basically lay out what to expect. I post this every time there's something due that I don't just post here. So, pretty straightforward. One thing I just want to remind you all again, as you can see here, is make sure your debates in communication, make sure everyone's contributing if at all possible. If there are any difficulties in that area, I should know as soon as possible, and please do let me know as soon as possible. Second, you should have received your opposing group's argument by February the 10th at midnight, so last Friday basically, at the time of me recording this. If you did not get that or did not send that to the other team for whatever reason, please let me know as soon as possible, or at least just send it to the opposing team as soon as possible. Now, one thing I also want to mention as well is that I would encourage you, if possible, to go ahead and practice or rehearse a little bit your debate argument, if at all possible. Now, this isn't a public speaking course, so I won't be as critical of that as maybe a public speaking instructor would. However, I do expect professionalism and an attempt at decent public speaking skills for this debate. So I don't want just people sitting at their desks, staring at a computer, staring at their notes the whole time. I do expect there to be some kind of attempt made at being a bit more engaging and interacting with the other group. Again, especially since it's our first debate, if there are some mistakes along the way or there's some lack of eye contact, we can live with that for now, work on it for the next one, but I do expect there to be at least some kind of attempt from everybody. Lastly, again, the debate follows all the same citation formatting rules that a writing assignment would, for example. So again, anytime you're using a direct source, anytime you're directly quoting something, it should be cited. For you guys, since this is one of my in-person classes, that does mean as well as when you're sharing your speech. So for example, if you're speaking and directly quoting a source, whether it's secondary, primary, whatever it is, do cite the source. Just you'll say it out loud, of course, instead of just having it written down. But again, you are required to credit what other sources you're using, and the majority of this does need to be your own work. So, moving forward then from that, if you scroll up again to the top, like I've mentioned throughout the semester, again, all the major assignment stuff, the big stuff that's worth a lot of your grade is up here. Here we have the Debate 1 prompt, which again goes through all the basic rules for how this is going to go. So, you should have all done the Getting Started section. I've given you some class time to do that. But again, you should have your thesis statement ready, you should have assigned everyone a role, and you should all be doing your individual work, research, whatever you want to call it. Now, this section is what you all need to make sure this week you have done before debate day. So, each of you, as I've mentioned before, you need to have your own thesis statement just where you share your part of the group's argument. You need to have roughly a maximum of 2 minutes prepared to share your portion of the argument, your speech, your presentation, whatever it is. I keep it around 2 minutes to make sure that we have enough time basically to get everybody done. Because as you'll see, I expect a lot of the debate to be spent on another section. However, I also expect each person to have a minimum of 3 sources, including primary and secondary. So it's 3 total, but I expect primary and secondary to be included in there. And again, there should be directly referenced and cited in your presentation. I don't want you to just slap them on at the end and not actually use them. Make it clear how you use them in the presentation. And lastly, I want you all to have some kind of counter argument prepared to go after the other team's argument. I don't have a word count on this. I don't have a specific format. But as you'll see when I talk about the Q&A, I want everyone to have at least some kind of argument prepared to share against the other team. So that way the Q&A is hopefully a little bit more lively. And again, I cannot stress enough, everyone make sure you submit your own contributions individually. I don't do the whole group grade thing for things like this. Make sure that all of these things, you can share individually what you contributed. So, in the meantime, what you may be more concerned about is how the actual debate day is going to go. So, it's going to be pretty straightforward. My American History 1 class, yours will be a little bit different just because there's so many of you, but the basic setup is going to be the same. So, what'll happen is we'll pick which team is going to go first. I'll either let you all pick or I'll pick myself, doesn't really matter. The first person from that team will share their portion of the argument. So again, looking at this class for an example, let's say their first reason that Reconstruction was not successful is because of racism, something like that. One person would make their argument about racism. They would go first. Then we would have the Q&A session after that. This is where the other team will speak up and share some of the counter arguments they hopefully have, and everyone will basically be free to sort of debate back and forth a little bit more informally. By informally, I mean there's no set order, there's no set time limit for speaking except for the maximum 5 minutes for everybody. But basically, as long as you don't interrupt each other and acknowledge each other, you can sort of debate back and forth a bit more freely. We'll then go to the next team. The first person from that team will share their portion of the argument. So let's say their first person says, oh, Reconstruction was successful because the Civil War was over. Something basic like that. That first person would go, share their portion of the argument. We wrap that up in about 2 minutes. We then jump back again to the Q&A session where then the other team can sort of start attacking that person's argument. We will continue that process until everyone's done. So, and in my American History 1 students, yours is going to be the exact same setup, except we'll basically do this whole thing twice, because as you hopefully already noticed, I split you guys up into 2 larger groups. Basically, for you guys, when one group, let me actually pull up your sign-up sheet to maybe give you a better idea of what I'm talking about. Just one moment. Took me a minute. There we go. So, let's go look at your sign-up sheets. So basically, we have Group 1 here. Let's say Group 1 goes first. While they're debating, Group 2 will then be giving feedback using feedback forms I will provide on debate day. So basically, they're your audience. They're going to pick the winner while Group 1 is arguing. Then the next group will do the exact same thing. So, like I said, should hopefully be pretty straightforward. The last things just that I'll mention is that you are required to have all your debate stuff turned in, basically midnight of the day that you do the debate. So, for example, this class that I'm looking at, my 132-02 students, you guys are going to be doing the debate on Thursday. So that means by Thursday night, all the debate stuff that you've done, that you presented in class, it needs to be submitted to Moodle. It is important for me to stress that there will be points taken off if you don't follow the directions and submit your portion. Because again, I don't do the group grades. So even if I see you present your part of the debate in person, I do expect you to still submit the proof of your individual work. So again, that should be pretty easy. If you participate in the debate, you should be ready to go, but do make sure you follow that deadline. So that's about all I have at this point. Just as a reminder, please let me know if you have any questions, any concerns about teams I should be aware of. Do remember as well, if you want to talk to me in person at a specific time, I do have my office hours, or at the very least, you all have access here to my email address. So if there's no other questions or any one thing you want us to throw out there, have a great rest of your week whenever you're viewing this. Again, any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you all on either Monday or Tuesday, depending on which class you are. Have a great day.